I do remember the doors going from like open to closed, all the dressing room doors. There was tension, and I knew that. You know, I was a kid and I knew that.
They offered me this really bad deal in the third season to, I think, sort of put me in my place. So I said no. You took my career away of 30-something years. You just went too far.
So it appears like the drama between Will Smith and his Fresh Prince of Bel-Air co-star, Janet Hubert, is not over after all. And Tatyana Ali recently revealed some fresh tea on just how vicious Will was to Janet and sabotaged her career. Janet's been very outspoken about the way Will mistreated her, and she publicly called him an egomaniac. Although Will apologized to Janet in 2020 during an episode of Red Table Talk, we're now hearing that this apology may have just been a past stunt, and that will use the situation to promote himself and his wife's show. And now Tatyana Ali, who portrayed Will's cousin, Ashley Banks, on Fresh Prince, is speaking out on this situation, and she revealed just how badly Janet Hubert was treated by Will. But did Tatyana truly witness Will bullying Janet? And was Will's contrition to Janet just a PR stunt? Let's get into it.
I heard when Janet said that. I know that other people have said that about her. I've seen that in social media, but I didn't know that she felt that way.
It appears like there's more than meets the eye. And allegedly, Will and his wife Jada still can't abide Janet because she publicly exposed their narcissistic behavior. So to give you some context, Janet Hubert played Aunt V for the first 3 seasons of Fresh Prince. But when season 4 premiered in September 1993, fans were stunned to see that Janet had been replaced by Daphne Maxwell Reid. No specific explanation was given at the time, other than rumors about the so-called creative differences. But then the situation took an ugly turn when Will started slamming Janet publicly, and he essentially launched the theory that Janet's big ego is the reason she was fired. In 1993, Will went on an Atlanta radio show and claimed that Janet wished to be the main star. I can say straight up that Janet Hubert wanted the program to be the Aunt Viv of Bel-Air show. Will said, "She's furious now, but she's been mad all along." But as Janet later informed Will when he finally apologized in 2020, labeling someone as mad and difficult in Hollywood, especially a black woman, is a kiss of death. What's even more messed up is that Janet wasn't being difficult at all, and Will made up this narrative just because Janet wasn't a devotee of his problematic humor. Janet later revealed that she made the decision to leave the show after the producers significantly reduced her role and offered her a humiliating deal.
Will, make no mistake, this video is for you, directly. I will not go to my grave feeling that questions have been unanswered or misconceptions of me that you put there have never been dealt with. Nowhere did it ever say I was fired. The only person who ever said that, sweetie, was you. The vomit that you spewed, I still reek of it.
Of course, it was impossible for Janet to subsist on 10 weeks of work without any side gigs. At the time, she was the provider in her household and provided for her newborn son and her now ex-husband James Whitten, who was also a B. So she had no alternative but to turn down the offer they gave her. Janet later said this was the producer's way of putting her in her place, and they essentially set her up to walk away so they could blame it all on her attitude. But why would they do that when the audience adored Janet as Aunt Vivi? Well, you predicted it. Will was the issue all along. And he was the one whose ego cost Janet her career. Apparently, Will so full of himself that it bothered him when Janet didn't go far at his jokes in between takes. Will had to have the spotlight on him at all times. So between scenes, he would crack jokes with the audience and other individuals on set. Janet, however, a Juilliard-trained actress who's also 12 years older than Will, preferred to focus on her work, rehearsing her lines and preparing for the next scene. However, the larger issue was that Will's jokes were colorist, and Janet just couldn't stand there and laugh at Will mocking dark-skinned women. She told Black America Web in 2010, "I was a dark-skinned African-American mother, and Will used to tell the 'you're so black' jokes to the audience before the show, and at one point I came out and halted him. He didn't comprehend how unbelievably disrespectful that was to women like me. But Will took this personally and started bad-mouthing Janet. And of course, the producers took his side because they couldn't risk losing him as the protagonist of the show. Meanwhile, Will also managed to turn other members of the Fresh Prince cast against Janet. In 2009, Alfonso Ribeiro, who portrayed Carlton Banks, dissed Janet during his stand-up show, telling the audience, "The BA was crazy." Shortly after, Will shared a photo of what he termed a Fresh Prince reunion without Janet as the original Aunt Vivi. When TMZ asked Janet to remark on this, she said, "He is still an egomaniac and has not grown up. This constant reunion thing will never ever happen in my lifetime, unless there is a contrition," which he doesn't know the word. But Janet didn't just have words for Will. She also later came for his wife, Jada, when she attempted to rally black actors to boycott the 2016 Oscars. The nominations were published a few days before Martin Luther King Jr. Day and Jada used this opportunity to call out the Academy Awards, suggesting that people of color should boycott the Oscars because the Academy has failed to recognize their artistic accomplishments. However, multiple industry figures, including Chris Rock and Janet, claimed the true reason Jada and Will boycotting the Oscars was because Will wasn't nominated for the movie Concussion.
There's a lot of going on in the world that you all don't seem to recognize. People are dying, our boys are being shot left and right, people are hungry, people are starving, people are trying to pay bills, and you talk about some actors in Oscars.
Janet also blasted Will and Jada for being hypocrites, pointing out that they benefited from the same system they were asking others to boycott. And she also exposed Will for his lack of solidarity on the Fresh Prince.
I seem to remember at option time coming to you and saying, "You know what, Will? You're the star of the show. Why don't we all get together? And with you, maybe we could get a little raise. Maybe the network, since you know the show is such a hit, and you being the star of the show, your influence would help us greatly, like they did on Friends, like white shows do." Remember that? Do you remember that? Because I do. And your response to me was, "My deal is my deal, and y'all deal is y'all deal."
At the time, Will remained silent on Janet's comments. But fast forward to 2020, and he suddenly decided it was time to apologize. However, a lot of people felt the timing was suspicious, and they speculated Will was just doing damage control for Jada after the whole entanglement situation. Plus, he made himself appear like the good guy for organizing a new Fresh Prince reunion, this time with Janet. Janet and Will had a conversation on a special episode of Red Table Talk, and Janet revealed just how severely she suffered because of Will's actions.
We lost our house. I lost everything. Reputation, everything. You took all that away from me. With your words. You know, words can kill. You know those words, calling a black woman difficult in Hollywood is the kiss of death. Somebody smashed a cookie in my son's face and said, "Your mother is a..." People send me hateful Instagrams. "Aren't you dead yet? I love Will. Why don't you just die?"
Will then apologized and claimed he didn't know better because he was young and didn't know the power of his words.
It was all way too far on my end.
But a lot of fans felt Will's apology didn't seem sincere, and they pointed out that he spent almost 30 years publicly gaslighting Janet and then used her pain and suffering to promote another Fresh Prince reunion. The worst part is that no one took Janet's side during this whole time, and all the cast members either remained silent or supported Will's narrative about Janet being difficult. However, Tatyana Ali is now finally speaking out on this. And in a recent interview, she disclosed that even as a child on the set of Fresh Prince, she could see that Janet was isolated.
I do remember the doors going from like open to closed, all the dressing room doors. Like there was tension, and I knew that. You know, I was a kid and I knew that, and I was apprehensive when we knew that that was going to happen because so much has been said, you know, back and forth between different people, not just even between Will and Janet, but between other people too.
Fans are now claiming Will's apology to Janet was too little too late. And considering his star power, he should have done way more to assist Janet to get her career back. One admirer said she lost 30 years of income and progress. People without conscience don't care. He was threatened of her potential success. Janet Hubert was and is an extraordinarily talented woman. And another fan added, "The whole circumstance makes me mad for her." He hurt her career due to establishing the narrative that she was a difficult, angry, and crazy black woman. And this is a damn trend towards black women, particularly dark-skinned black women. I side-eye the heck out of Will. He needs to give her a check. But let's hear your thoughts on this. Was Will's remorse to Janet genuine? And do you think Will changed? Or is he still an egomaniac, as Janet termed him? Or is he still an egomaniac, as Janet termed him? Comment down below and then check out this next video.